Okay, hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of This Week in IP&O. We are, of course, as always, live from the couch in my room. We have a special guest today. We have student athlete, Bella Godish. Bella, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Cool. So this is a landmark episode in the sense that we have never had a student on. It's all been Rutgers employees. So we're breaking new ground here today.
The first.
The first. So our first question for you is, a lot of like our uh, original episode, especially, we're talking about how like employees and staff were adjusting to, last March, everyone got sent from home. But how have you adjusted as a student from that point of view from March until now? What's changed for you?
Yeah, well, it's been really difficult to adjust as a student back from March. I think a lot of my professors were actually confident we were going to come back after that spring break. It was just going to be like 2 extra weeks of spring break and we'd be back, and then it ended up we didn't go back. And, I think we all kind of thought at least we'll have the fall. We didn't have the fall, it was online again. And I honestly thought we were going to have spring, but here we are online a year later. And I think with school being online, it's just very hard to focus. I had a lot of trouble since March. I've definitely gotten better, but it's harder when you're online again to focus, and just you don't get the same experience as when you're actually in class with everybody. Um, it's just, you don't have that same connection. So it's been really difficult.
Yeah, so you have to deal with this in two parts. Not only are you a student, but you're also an athlete. So how has it affected that part?
Yeah, it's been incredibly different. Training is super different. We have to wear masks pretty much at all times, except for in workouts and meets, obviously. But we're supposed to keep them at least over your ears or hold them when you're running. So I do long distance, and usually when we do workouts or meets, we run in packs. But with workouts, you can't really. We're supposed to spread out because of COVID. So we kind of go one by one, and it's a lot more difficult to pace and everything because if one person in front is off, it throws off everybody. So that's been really difficult. We also have testing 3 times a week. We do the Big Ten antigen test. And I actually tested positive back in September. So that was really difficult because I had to pretty much stop training completely for about a month or two because we have to get all these tests done before we can actually return to practice.
Right.
So I had to get an EKG, cardiac MRI. So I just feel like I lost a lot of fitness there. So it's been pretty difficult.
Wow. Yeah. I was thinking back, like if this would happen to me when I was in college, and I was just thinking like if it was especially my like senior year or something like that, that would have been like the worst. Are you a junior, a senior?
I'm a sophomore,
Oh,
actually.
okay. So
Yeah.
at least you'll
I got
have
a tiny bit of it and then it
yeah. So eventually it is going to go back to normal, or at least some sense of normalcy. What's the thing, I guess, one as a student and one as a student athlete, that you're looking forward to the most? And if it's the same thing, then it's the same thing. But
yeah, well, I think as a student, I never thought I'd say it, but I'm really excited to go back to classes. I'm just excited to learn again because, as I said before, it's just so much harder online. I think being in class, it's just you get to talk to your peers more, you get to talk to your professor more. It's just I really want that back soon. And then as for athletics, I'm excited just to train together and push each other more. It's harder when you're like physically separated and we're not all running together. And I want to be able to have like crowds of people again watching our meets and even practices. I feel like you just work a lot harder when people are watching. I also want to be able to see like my other friends' competitions and support them. I have a few friends on other teams, and it's hard, not being able to go watch them. So I'm excited for that when I can finally go back, support everyone else.
That's interesting that you said that uh, in your runs that everyone has to hold their mask the whole time.
Yeah, we actually, so you either have them around or you're holding it. So we can't go into any of the athletic buildings without a mask on. Like you always have to go. You have to have it on at all times. So if we leave for like an easy run or a long run outside, we have to bring our mask with us because otherwise we won't get back into the building.
Mm.
And then for when we do workouts, right now we're inside the bubble. So and we actually practice at the same time. I think jumpers are in there and also the throwers. So every time, it's not just us. So every time we finish whatever workout we're doing and if we're cooling down, we have to keep our mask on too, pretty much right after, which is hard because you're like dead and then you have to go throw something over your face and it's not fun.
Yeah, I'm sure it's difficult to deal with that. I what I'm thinking is that when this is over, you're gonna find just the normalcy of everything to be so much easier. It's just gonna be like, yeah,
Yeah.
at least we don't have to deal with that stuff anymore. Like
Mhm.
actually getting to do the training and the classes, I feel like everybody's just gonna be much more appreciative of what they have
Yeah.
and not having to go through this whole routine that they have to go through at this point.
Mhm.
It's weird that like I'm so used to I'm so used to the way things are now that even when I see things on TV that are like
Yeah.
from 5 years ago, I'm like, why is no one on there wearing a mask? If it's like even if it's like an
Yeah.
episode of like Seinfeld or something, and they're all in like a restaurant, I'm like, what's
Yeah,
going on
too
here?
close, too close.
Yeah. No, I think the same thing. It's weird. I went in for testing the other day and just there were a lot of people there that day and it felt weird being around. It wasn't even that many people. It was like 20 people, but it felt weird.
Yeah,
Like, yeah, it's
it
strange.
almost feels like you're doing something like wrong. It's like,
Yeah, it
you
does.
know, yeah. Well, Bella, thank you for coming on the show and for giving us that perspective from a student. And as we always do, we'll give you the final word if there's anything else you'd like to say.
Um, I guess if everyone can be safe, I just really want this to end, I'm sure as everybody else does. And I'm excited for things to sort of get back to normal whenever that may be, but hopefully it's soon.
You heard it here first. Stay safe out there. All right, everyone. Thanks for listening.
Thanks,
Thank
Bella.
you.